Welcome to Frequently Asked Family Court Questions. What factors determine the amount and duration of spousal support? When the court is asked to determine whether or not a party is entitled to spousal maintenance, court is required to examine certain factors that are set forth in the Arizona law regarding spousal maintenance. The court is required to examine whether or not the spouse who is asking for spousal maintenance lacks sufficient property to provide for that spouse's reasonable needs. Now, that property is also going to include whatever that spouse receives in the divorce portion of the case. The court is also required to look at whether or not the spouse who's asking for maintenance lacks an ability in the labor market to become adequately self-sufficient. The court will also look at if that parent, the parent seeking maintenance, is the custodian of a child whose age or condition prohibits the parent who's asking for maintenance from seeking employment outside the home. The court will look at whether or not the spouse who's asking for maintenance made a significant financial or other contribution to the higher wage earning spouse's education, training, vocational skills, career, or earning ability of the other spouse has significantly reduced that spouse's income or career opportunities. A good example of that second portion is, say, if parties are married and one spouse is in the military, which forces the family to relocate on a regular basis, and that constant relocation inhibited the non-military spouse from advancing in their career. Another factor the court must look at is the duration of the marriage. Is the marriage of such a long duration that it may preclude the possibility of gaining employment to become self-sufficient for the spouse asking for maintenance? Once the court then makes the determination that a spouse is eligible for maintenance, then the court will use the newly enacted spousal maintenance guidelines to determine the amount and duration of that maintenance. When calculating a maintenance award, the court uses the gross income of both parties and also factors in not only the length of the marriage, but also the principal mortgage payment on the party's marital home, if that's applicable. Then once that spousal maintenance calculation is prepared, it will give the court a range, both an amount of duration for what the asking spouse's maintenance payment is to be. Spousal maintenance is always modifiable unless the parties agree for it to be non-modifiable. Spousal maintenance also, if it is a modifiable award, can be modified if there is a substantial change in circumstance for either spouse. Good example of a substantial change in circumstance is if the paying spouse either loses their job or is laid off, or for whatever reason begins to earn a significantly lower wage, then that spouse, the paying spouse, can then ask the court to modify the spousal maintenance award.